Live rock is probably the most important part of a reef aquarium. What happens is when you put the live rock into the aquarium, it imports into the aquarium all the different microorganisms which will act like the worms in the compost heap with your natural ecosystem you're trying to create. Basically what the live rock is dead coral. When the coral dies away, what is left is calcium carbonate. The calcium carbonate works like a safe haven for various microorganisms, corals, algae and bacteria. So what's live about the rock is not the calcium carbonate, because that was once a live coral. It's actually the different bacteria which grow within the rock, the microorganisms and corals and algae that grow on the rock. So when you put this live rock into the aquarium, you'll get a multitude of microorganisms: amphipods, copepods, bristle worms, pistol shrimp. These little organisms will run off the rock and eat the excretions of the fish. The fish will also produce ammonia, as will the microorganisms. So on the outside of the rock, you'll get the formation of heterotrophic bacteria, which will break down high level organics, as does the fish's digestive system. You'll also get nitrifying bacteria on the outside of the rock, which are oxidizing your high level waste into low level waste. On the outside of the rock, there's a lot of oxygen present, so therefore you'll get nitrifying bacteria, which mean they're breaking high level waste into low level waste, being nitrate. On the inside, within the porous structure of this rock, you'll form denitrifying bacteria. Now these denitrifying bacteria break your nitrates into nitrogen gas, which just precipitate harmlessly into the atmosphere without odour. When purchasing live rock, what you're really looking for is the shape of the rock. Pay little attention to the colour or what's on the rock, because inevitably that's going to change. So what I'm looking for is good, easy shape, not too many boulders. If you've got a whole tank full of very roundish rocks, you'll find a lot less opportunity to put the coral. On the other hand, if you're going to have rock with a lot more shape to it, it'll be a lot easier to anchor the corals within the rock. It's really important when you're positioning your rock not to lay them flat, because basically your contact with the substrate is going to determine how much detritus you build up in your aquarium. So if it's flat on the bottom, you get a lot of crap building up around the bottom of the rock. On the other hand, if the rock was positioned on points, then the amount of surface area contacting the substrate is much lower, and that's where your detritus builds up. So the garbage doesn't build up around the rock itself, because there should be ample water flow in the aquarium. The garbage builds up at the base of the rock. One excellent tip with aquascaping is the use of a shelf. What the shelf does is minimize your contact with the substrate. So instead of using large boulderish type pieces for your support structure, what you can actually use is this shelf. We will then go mounting the decorative pieces of rock around the shelf, preferably hiding the shelf, and just using this for our support. From the time that you put the rock in, it will go through various colour changes. It will go often through a powder brown stage, which is the diatom phase. It'll often go through a hairy green algae phase, but what you're ultimately aiming for is a coralline algae phase. Now that's signifying that the rock is very well developed and established. The colour of your rock will be very much determined by the water quality of your aquarium. If you have a lot of phosphates and maybe not as high calcium level, your rock may be all hairy green. On the other hand, if your rock is very high in calcium without much phosphate, you'll get a lot more coralline algae growth, which is really what you're aiming for. It is quite wise to use gloves. When handling the live rock, it's not uncommon to find mantis shrimp. They'll often pop out and land in the bottom of your box. If you do find them, don't handle them. Use a net and discard of them. Don't put them into the aquarium. Same as most crabs that you find. It's best not to put those crustaceans into the aquarium, because as they grow up, they'll often cause trouble, particularly the mantis shrimp. Though something like 98% of them are absolutely harmless and just good scavengers, there's certainly been cases of them attacking fish, as they are predatory. Once you've got your live rock, it's a really good idea to visualize what it is you're trying to achieve, and then you're ready to put it in the tank. While you're enjoying creating your masterpiece, don't forget to do a tap test, which is simply tap quite firmly on the rock as if you were a large grazing fish, just to make sure that your rocks are secure.